Good evening and welcome to the November meeting of the Farmland Preservation Board of Directors. I'm Michael Blank. And joining me are, I'll just go around on the videos. I see Sean Carney, Daniel Bonkoski, George Hines, and Dennis Stedman.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone. So we'll jump right in and start with the approval of the minutes. Turn it over to George.
Thanks, Mike. The Farmland Preservation Board meeting minutes from October 17th have been finalized and circulated to everybody. So if I could have a motion to approve the minutes, I'd appreciate it.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, the meeting minutes from our October meeting are now approved and will be saved.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Treasurer's report, Dan. Oh, John, welcome. John Lewis is joining.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you see me or no?
Now
Yes.
we can.
And
Okay.
here,
We have you from the nose up.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure what the deal here. Let me hit stop video and see if I can get it to work. Best
For
look.
now we lost your video, John.
Alrighty. Alright.
For treasurer's report, our one of our one expense for the last month was $4,200 to Robert Small for our tax return and for all of our financial statement preparation as well. And so that has been prepared and filed. I shared with everybody where that is saved down in our OneDrive account so that everyone has access to take a look at that. Bob did want to join, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up joining late to do like a quick walkthrough, but we'll see if he ends up joining tonight or not. But I'm also happy to walk anyone through any other questions that they may have as well. But we had talked at our last meeting, didn't think it was a good use of time to walk through everything right now, and everyone has access to take a look at it.
so you'll send us a link or
Yeah, I think I
or have?
shared with everyone that's already been posted on our OneDrive a while ago. So it's all there for everyone to take a look at.
Good, thank you. Well, we'll wait in case Bob joins us. We'll have him come in and join it whenever he's available. Any questions for Dan? Any comments? No? If not, we'll move on. Parcel responsibilities. I'm going to share my screen with you and try to find this. Are you seeing my screen? I'm not sure you are.
Not yet, Mike.
What's that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, let me go back. Share screen, whiteboard, files. A little bit changed here. Basic. Okay. How about now?
White screen.
Green. How about now?
Still white screen.
Okay. All right. I give up. It's a little bit different. I haven't used this in a while. So let me just go over this. I'm looking at a
Do you mind stop sharing now?
yeah, there we go. Okay, so the assignments that I have for parcels are myself, Longshore, Farmview 1 with a backup of Sean, and Farmview 2. So those three for me. George Hines has Stackhouse and Bridal Estates.
Yep.
Dennis Stedman has Clearview, Makefield Brook, and Heather Ridge. Right, Dennis?
Right? Yes, right. Thank you.
And for Heather Ridge, I'd be happy to back you up on that, since I was the last one to have that.
Okay.
I'd be able to help there. And
Thank
Sean, have you down for Leadham,
Yes.
okay?
Yep.
All right, so I will share this document with you and then put it in our OneDrive along with our other documents. We'll have that.
Mike, while we're on this topic, any update on us being able to rename a couple of these to just make a little more sense geographically?
Right, so I had asked Jim Majewski to look into that, and I haven't heard that. So I'll put down a action for myself to follow up with Jim
Okay.
regarding names.
Thank you.
Related to that, do we when and I apologize for being naive on this, but if you go to our if a resident goes to our website, Farmland Preservation, is there a decent map there showing these properties? There is not, right? Because the map from 2008 that we all have, that I saw Dan flash by, that big yellow patched thing, is, in my opinion, worthless. It's not very informative unless you're a student of it. It doesn't make much sense. So maybe it would. I know Jim Majewski has a better map than that we used in Harvest Days or something. I think he put it on a big poster where you could
Day, yeah.
see the property as well.
I might have
I'm
that.
wondering if we could ask Jim, when he has a minute, which he really has, to get that electronically, and maybe that could be on our website, so that when we're trying to communicate with residents and say, well, you border this property or that property, whether the names stay the same or change, it just might be useful. We're not quite seeing you, Mike.
There I am. No, it's not going to work. But anyway, I have the poster board from.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, if we had it electronically on the website,
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it would be nice to say, if you border this property, Heather Ridge, or whatever, call Dennis Stedman or call Mike Blank, or I mean, as the liaison. I don't know. Maybe that's going a step too far, but I just feel like it would help the communications with the community if it was better understood where these parcels are, because soon it's going to be the only farmland in Lower Makefield or these preserved fields, and the Patterson Farm preserved fields, and the horse farm Sharon's over there on Lindenhurst. So I don't know. It might be worth an ask of Jim.
So Jim, your understanding, Dennis, is that Jim has that.
He made that poster that you were trying to show. So I know he has it electronically and he had it printed. So it's a question of getting that on our website, maybe.
So Dennis, while I don't disagree, putting that on the website would be helpful. I'm not sure if saying questions related to this farm, call this number, questions related to this farm, call this number would be helpful. That you may want to keep as letting them go to the township, and then it getting filtered back out as appropriate. That you may want to keep that the same way.
Yeah, that you're right, Dan, 100%. I took it a bridge too far. That filter or contact at the township is right. But having that decent map on that, and we can direct someone to it. If you go to the website, you can It just would be helpful, I think. While you're reaching out to Jim on that subject. Mike.
Yeah, I put it down as an additional thing. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
So I think Dennis and Mike that when you're reaching out to Jim, Mike, basically if we have the latitude and the opportunity to change some of the names or simplify it, what we should then do is update that map with the names that we agree on and
Sure.
then put it to the website. You know, we can get a copy of it just for Sean and I to kind of play with, but I think right now just see if he has it, and then if we can make the name changes, we'll do it to the map and then we can reissue it properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else on that while we're talking about parcels? Okay, we can move on to the next item, which is proposed winter schedule for buffer maintenance. Sean.
Yes. All right. So I sent to each of you a draft of what I'm working from. As you know, we have 10 contracted days with Corcoran Landscaping to take care of our buffer areas. This is maintenance that goes outside of the traditional cutting that he does during the crop season. So during these days, we like to do things such as limb up trees, take down dead trees, branches that extend over into the farming area, anything major where he needs to get his big equipment out. So what I have drafted is a combination of neighbors that have contacted us throughout the year, whether through the township or coming to us, jobs that we couldn't really just handle ad hoc at the moment. So I have those on the list. I have general sweeps on the list, meaning we've put good money into these buffers over the past couple of years. Some general sweeps can really clean them up and keep them, proactively looking good. And then I also have feedback from each of you, as well as Matt Corcoran when he reaches out to me and says, hey, we should really spend some time here during the winter. So we need to allocate days. On the sheet that I sent you today as a preliminary, I penciled in days that equal 9. This year we only have 9 days, not 10. Reason being, we did one extra buffer cutting this year because the grass just grew at a much more rapid rate than it did last year. It didn't stall out as early. So instead of letting it get quite as high as it was, we had them come back through again. So we have 9 days this year to allocate. I start at the top with Stackhouse. The neighbor at 1578 Brookfield has had both myself and George out to look at their property. There's 1 or 2 dead trees behind the property. There's a couple of branches there. I think, being a good neighbor to them, I think that there's some work that can be done there. And also very close to there at 2027 Leadham's, behind the home there, they have a very large, I don't want to call it a bush because it's larger than a bush, but a small tree, large bush that's kind of overgrown. It's growing into our fence and it's actually pushing on our fence.
Which house is that, Sean?
I'm sorry?
Which house is that on the street?
That's the one right on the corner of Leadham's, George.
And Brookfield?
Yes.
Yes, because I walked by there today and that fence line. So the buffer there is a little smaller because that's also the gas pipeline.
That's right.
So I noticed all the stuff growing through the fence today.
Yes.
How does that work as far as dealing with, obviously the rule we've always said is stuff goes onto a neighbor's property, they can cut it. If they've got stuff coming onto our property, I guess we would kind of analogous say we have opportunity to cut it.
Yeah.
I just don't know what they think if we start cutting it.
Yeah. So my goal, George, was two-pronged. What I would like to do is, this exists in more than one place, but we'll tackle them. What I'd like to do is have Matt trim everything he can, basically from standing on our property.
Right.
Get what's coming through, get what he can reach. And then I think that we also follow up with a letter to the neighbor that we recently did a cleanup of the area, and that we'd ask them to themselves or have their landscaping crew please trim those back and keep them trimmed back off of the fence. That would be the way I'd like to tackle it.
Yeah, but I agree. I mean, I noticed that today when I was out for my walk along that whole stretch of the back of their
Yeah.
property. It's coming through the fence. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, I've noticed that. George, do you agree that in one day, Matt and his team could take care of what's behind 1578 Brookfield and trimming that at 2027 Leadham's on the fence there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I wouldn't
right.
expect them to take too long.
Okay. All right. Then before I close out Stackhouse, anything else on Stackhouse that's on your list, George, that I should know about?
Not that I'm aware of. The only line that I haven't walked recently is where they're building the new house, right along that fence line.
Yeah, and we're not going to do anything there until that house is in and settled.
Right, because that fence line, we have to kind of determine where the fence line really is.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll wait until they're done and in, and then we'll that's that row we haven't touched on purpose for a little bit of time.
Okay, agreed.
Okay. Moving down, Farm View 1. Dan and I, so this is going to be Mike and I, but Dan and I had received communication earlier in the year at 1776 Greenbrier Court, right on the corner of Woodside. There's a dead tree right there on the corner of the farm that's behind their property. The reason we were made aware of this, whenever the branches fall, some fall on our property, some fall on theirs, they make a pile. We saw the pile in the buffer and reached out about how it got there, so on. The tree needs to come down, no doubt about it. It's ugly. It's right on the corner. It kind of extends over the walkway, which, again, makes it so it needs to come down. So Matt Corcoran had reached out to me about doing work on Farm View 1, more on the Fairfield Road area, where we know we have some trees that need to be limbed up so they can bring their equipment through. And they're on much smaller equipment than the farmers. So this needs to be addressed. So I thought that, and I backed into this number, so we can fool with this number, but 4 days on Farm View 1, which is, very large along a lot of neighbors, but it would give Matt the chance to go down Fairfield, limb up what he needs to, get rid of what he needs to, and then go over to 1776 Greenbrier Court on the corner, take down that dead tree, chip it up, make that area look nice, and then please this neighbor who reached out to us the right way and did that. So again, I backed into the 4 days. We can come back to that. Leadham's
Sean,
needed.
can I just add?
Yeah.
I put it in the bucket of a lot of work being done and making sure that it's still kind of cleaned up. That 1775 Green or 1776 Greenbrier, and then the neighbor right south, and then there's another neighbor. There was a lot of work on the neighbor south there as well.
Yeah, 1775 and 1777, where you and I met the one day recently.
Yeah. Because I think we have similar where a lot of work was done, and there might be another dead tree or two there that is just completely dead at this point that might be worth just removing. Not very big, smaller than the other one in that corner.
How about if I put 1777 to 1776 Greenbrier, so he sweeps that whole corner, and then he can do whatever he needs on Fairfield with the rest of the time?
I think that's perfect, yeah.
Okay, great.
Sean, refresh my memory where the Greenbrier Court is.
So if you walk down Brookfield Road, George, and you get to the bottom of Brookfield, and you look across the street, that's where we're talking about. That's that street right there.
That little courtyard, that little court that goes to the left.
That court is Greenbrier. Yep. So those neighbors back up to Farm View 1.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Yep.
Leadham's, which is mine. I walked it the other day. I'm going to ask Matt for a half a day to a day. Mainly what he'll be doing is I'm going to walk it a couple days before he does with my chainsaw, take down a couple of limbs that need to kind of be trimmed. And the reason I'm going to do that will make more sense in a moment. Take down some limbs, and I'm going to create 3 or 4 brush piles along Leadham's so that the ask for him and his guys are to pull in here with their chipper truck, go right down the buffer, pick up the branches, pick up the tree limbs, whatever, go ahead and throw them in the back of their truck and be done. So it's more of a half of a day ask than it is a full day ask. If there's anything that's kind of too big for me to do, I'm going to mark it with an orange flag that I put in the ground for Matt, and then he and his guys can take care of it. I want them to spend a little bit more of their time down towards the end of Leadham's, where we did have 1 or 2 neighbors call. They did a nice job cleaning it up, but they did say they needed to come back and do a little bit more. So I have 1 day down. I think it might be a half a day job, but Matt's very good about calling and saying, hey, we only did a half a day there. Where do you want us to spend the other half a day? Longshore. This is Mike. Mike, 1524 Pawnell Drive, which I have highlighted, all the way to 1473 Merrick Drive. That's 8 residents, 8 neighbors, the fence line. And like you mentioned in your message to me, because that area is very well cut right now and looks good, he'll be able to easily see what he needs to do. I have 1 day allocated there. Quite honestly, that might be a little bit more than a day, but it's very flat ground there, and they should be able to move along pretty good. So I have a day. If he needs another half a day, he'll have it from Leadham's most likely. Anything else, Mike, to add on Longshore before I move on from there?
Nope, that's
okay. Farmview 2, Susan Circle. So if you come off of Dolington and just look right down the buffer that we have had cut recently, there's a couple of trees there that need to be limbed up. There's a couple of limbs that actually extend over into the farming area that we just want taken down completely. Plus there's some sticks and branches that have fallen just because that's the type of trees they are. They lose a lot. We just want that area cleaned up. So I'm going to ask Matt to go right from Dolington Road and just work himself all the way back to the fence line, to the back of the property, which I'm estimating is 500 yards in distance, maybe 400. Just work his way down. Anything that he thinks the farming equipment would hit, limit. Anything that extends into the crop, limit, and take the stuff up to make it easier for everybody. I have that as a 1 day. I think that's generous. But it gives him a chance to kind of swing around the corner as well, because he often keeps an eye on Sunnyside Lane for us, where the bamboo is in that area. So I have no doubt that if he has extra time, he's actually going to just swing around the corner there and take care of that stuff as well if it needs to be.
John, a question for you on that.
Yes.
Recently, I haven't seen it lately, but Matt had widened out towards the curb what he cut.
Yes.
To recut that again and keep it down and looking pretty good.
Yes, he has moved that into the job now. So he goes down the side and then swings back around and cuts that because the township wanted that cut as well. Good. So he's doing that as part of his job as well.
Good. Okay.
Heather Ridge. Mike recently reached out to me about Heather Ridge. This is in having gone out and looked at the property that we may want cut, may not have wanted cut, looking at the stakes and all of that. Behind 1489 Heather Ridge starts a stretch of some trees that need to be limbed up. Mike wants to go with me when I show Matt this job, because he rode around with Tom McGowan recently to take a look at it, and Tom made some comments about some trees that need to be limbed up so he can get his equipment in there. So when we go out to that job, Mike wants to go. But I have that listed as a day on Heather Ridge, starting behind 1489, which is the corner house there. Mike, do you agree that this is a 1 day limbing of trees or more?
Oh, yeah. I think it's 1 day at the most.
Okay. So 1 day. So if we go a day at Stackhouse, a day at Leadham's, a day at Longshore, a day at Farmview 2, a day at Heather Ridge, and then the balance at Farmview 1, which is 4. The way Matt has done this in the past is he does the 1 day jobs first. And then if anything's left over or he had to take from any, then that goes to our bigger focus project, which is this year going to be Farmview 1, because of the extent of that job. So if anybody has any input, anything they want me to take into consideration before talking to Matt, I reached out to him today, told him I'd have a list for him probably sometime tomorrow, and I'll get together with him before the winter sets in so that he has the final list and he and his son can get started on it whenever they like.
Dennis?
Sean, I was out at Heather Ridge today.
Okay.
And ran into Tom, and we rode around all the perimeter for a long time, and found a couple other properties along the Heather Ridge Drive. Mike had referenced that very first one on the corner of Heather Ridge Drive in our property. But as you go down there are 2 properties, and I can send you the details, where there's a smallish tree, maybe 8-10 inches, that's literally on our property, but growing against the fence.
Okay.
And so it's gradual and it's tipping and pushing the fence over, so it's
Okay.
no longer straight. Those should be removed. Now the homeowner hasn't complained, and they might move a millimeter a year. So I'm not going to argue that it's urgent this
Yep.
year. But
Yep.
if Matt is there,
Yep.
he should go down there. I can give you the two addresses for that. And
Please do,
just,
and I'll put an orange flag there. Now, Dennis, if I told you that the one end is 1435 Heather Ridge and the other end is 1489, whereabouts in between there am I looking?
you are looking at 1469 and
Okay.
1389 actually.
Whoa,
Is what I have. Yeah.
Uh,
It's if you want, I can share my screen and show you if that
so
helps.
I'll find 1469 now. Oh, I have 1469. I have it, so that's easy. But then the neighbor is 1461.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So this property on the corner is the one that you've identified already.
That's 1489. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes. And this 1469 is this red?
Yep. Agreed.
Mr. Liu, and I have this address, the second from the end, as 1389. That
1441.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. That my bad. I'm not
No
sure.
problem.
But anyway, that has two of those little trees leaning on the fence, and this 1469 has one.
Got it.
Okay.
I'll go mark those. Yeah, I'll mark those with orange flags. And when Mike goes out to show Matt exactly where the trims need, where the limbs need to be raised, we can point out those trees as well.
Okay. And I think it warrants stating here publicly that Tom McGowan does a great job on the buffers. He does a great job on the buffers. He's concerned, he's responsible, and hats off. He's a great tenant.
But I will say that line along Heather Ridge there is one that he hadn't done, and Sean had gone out, and maybe with Dan, I'm not sure, and seen that mess. And when I was out on the tour with Tom, he pointed out that that's what he couldn't get in there because of limbs.
Yeah, he can't mow that. There's too many zigzagging trees.
Yeah,
that needs more of a commercial riding mower than his farm equipment. So
that's right. Yeah,
that's an area we may want to consider with the proper limbing. I mean, you couldn't. The only limbing that would allow him to trim it is if you cut the tree off at the ground level. I mean, so if that may be an area that we want to consider for Cochrane at some point. If there's many complaints, I don't think there are. So let's just kind of keep that in the back of our minds, I think, would be my recommendation.
All right, good addition. I'm going to put 1 to 1.5 days there just because of this addition here with the trees. But thank you for the addition. Does anyone have any other input, anything they'd like to see changed or reprioritized before we go ahead and set the 2023-2024 winter project list?
Nope.
No. Mike, I don't know if this is something that we need a vote on. We know what we're spending on this. It's a contracted deal that we have kind of, we've spoken about it many times in this forum, but I'll go ahead and put together the finalized list. I'll send it to each of you, but I'll also send it to Matt as well and come up with a date that I can go out and show him each of these jobs personally. And I'll make sure that I send that date to the board. So anybody who wants to join us is more than welcome to come and join us as I show them these jobs.
Yeah, very good. I don't think a vote is needed. It's more tactical at this point. We've approved the overall strategy. So that's good. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay. So the next item is the adverse possession letters that went out, and one that we're thinking may have to go out as well. So 3 letters were sent out to Mr. Herco, the Patels, Mr. Herco on Longshore, the Patels on Farmview 2, Mr. Worthington regarding the Heather Ridge property, and they all were received. We got 2 of the green return receipt postcards back at the township offices. We don't have the third. I just found out today. I don't know which one we don't have haven't received, but I'm sure they've all received them. And I'll dig in more about which one was not received. So those went out, and I haven't received any calls. Has anybody else received any communications about those?
No.
So I think the letters served their purpose to have people put on notice that whether they know it's the property is not theirs, it's ours, and that was the purpose of the letters. So there's one, and I'll turn it over to Dennis for this one, which let's see if we were close with the address or not, and who owns it.
Yeah, well, 1546 Wexford Court. I'm going to share my screen again if I could. I think it's this one. Yes. Ignore these X's. That's where I marked those trees that we just talked about with Sean. But the property we're talking about is 1546 Wexford Court. This is Wexford Court here, maybe.
Yep.
Okay. This is Wexford Court. This is 1546. And the house next door, I believe it's 1550, have both cut trees on our property and are mowing grass beyond their property line and well into our property line, as we know is inappropriate. So let me. Whoops. Am I still sharing?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Well, in that case, let me get to my photographs again.
And is it the area past this person has a pool and a fence in their backyard, it looks like.
Yes,
right?
this is 1546. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
This is 1546 Westford. This is our post. That
We
demarcates.
still see the map, Dennis.
Yeah, we're
Oh.
still seeing the map.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to stop sharing that and start this over. How's that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. This is 1546 Wexford Court. They do have a fence across the back. They do have a pool there.
Okay.
This twisted up bar is our fence. Well, our fence pole post that we've put in, and there's a string of them going right straight down this line. You can't always see them all, but where my cursor is moving, that's the line. As you can see, they're cutting the grass, of course, behind their fence. No issue up to our line, but they're going, several yards. They're going into this buffer and cutting the buffer almost in half. This rough high buffer is what Tom trims, and they're cutting the grass. Also, as I have these red circles, here are some tree stumps that are cut flush that were clearly on theirs. That's not a problem. So I don't want to accuse anything there. But this isn't appropriate. Obviously our property is no trespassing. We can have neighbors using it as if it is theirs. And so and there's no problem with them obviously mowing their own lawn up to this bar, but after that, sorry, it shouldn't happen. Let me.
Dennis,
sorry.
correct me if I'm wrong, but that thing looks mowed the whole way down. So it's not just a mowing behind that property. That whole thing is mowed.
Well, that's what I'm going to now. This is 1546 that has the fence off to the right that's out of this shot. This is 1550, their next door neighbor, who did a beautiful job planting a row of trees back here on their property. But here's the line that's the iron post that represents a line. And again, you know, they've cut some trees over here. They cut this tree that was on the line. That's, you know, that's inappropriate. Yeah, whether it's dead or not doesn't matter. That's our property. They shouldn't come on it or have their contractors come on it and cut trees. And they're cutting the grass on down. It's these two properties here that we need to have a conversation with. Apparently, Tom has already had a conversation back in the summer with the owner of 1546. According to Tom, that did not go so well. So it's my intention to reach out to these two homeowners and see if I can reach them and have a conversation before we start firing letters back and forth or anything like that. But that's the situation. It's clearly unacceptable, and so it needs to be addressed.
Okay.
How long I don't know how long this has been going on. I mean, Tom is pretty diligent back there. He reported it this summer, so I'm not sure it's been going on for a decade, such that we need to send a adverse possession letter. But we just need to address it with our neighbors.
I don't think it's been going on. I know because I was around when those posts, and maybe Dan, you were too, when the posts were put in, we had that surveyed. And we decided not to put a fence because there was too much going on with trees and everything. So we just put the posts in. I don't recall it looked like this exactly.
Right.
Look this clean. So
now I do have to point out on a practical level, they can cut the grass, on their side of the line, obviously. Doug is not able to cut the grass in an area like this, maneuvering between trees. If it's open, great. So I don't know how bent out the shape I would get if their lawn service went 3 feet into ours to clean up around a tree that Doug can't clean up around and would become a mess after several years. But just going holistically deep beyond the line is off limits.
And Dennis, I just add that Susan Circle, we did send a letter to the homeowners there who are doing something similar that is looking good for us. We just know that, they're there with our permission.
Yeah, well, and keep in mind that Tom doing the mowing is a lot different than Cochran doing the mowing. Cochran is a landscaper who's got the equipment, very different equipment than our farming tenant. So Cochran can do a lot that Tom can't with a big tractor and a brush hog.
Okay.
So that's the situation. I'm sorry.
I was going to say on this property, I noticed that property recently changed hands in August. So there's a new owner. It was listed in May and sold in August.
Which property are you talking about, John?
I'm talking about the 1546 Wexford Court.
Okay.
So it's possible that because it was sold on August 15th.
Okay. Well, this was in the summer, so it could be a new neighbor that's unaware of the do's and the don'ts and the boundary lines and things. So a little education and conversation will probably I'm hoping would go a long way.
My other question, Dennis, is with the stakes that we have along the border, do we have too few stakes, or is it the right amount, or is there big gaps between the stakes that different property owners might not know where the boundary is?
There are. I mean, if we were running a fence, they'd only be 8 foot apart. They're probably 20 feet. I didn't measure them. It's a good question, but they're certainly close enough that any observer would know where the line is. You stand there, you see stake, you see another stake. I mean, it's not. I think it's adequately demarcated. I don't think we need more stakes. Maybe we, need to point out the stakes or.
Dennis, I could say that
adequate.
in the past, I've worked with Dan and Mike on this exact same property line, And quite simply, we went out. I brought fluorescent orange line with me, a couple thousand feet of it, tied it around one stake, went to the next, tied it around that, went to the next, tied it around that. And then the neighbor came out and we had a conversation with them. Like, this is the line. It's just, we don't run a fence here, but let's act like there's a fence on this line. And here's what can take place on this side, and here's what can take place on this side. Here's our name and our phone number. Feel free to contact us. Once we kind of put a name behind it, I think things went pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. That's good.
So-
Well, like I say, I don't have I have their name, the names of the two owners. It's not this Mr. Toomer or whatever is on our agenda, Mike, at that address. And maybe it's because the home changed over so recently.
Maybe.
But I do have the two names. I don't have contact information. I'll figure that out.
Maybe Katie can help with that. Sometimes she's able to get
Okay.
telephone numbers.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start with her.
John?
You're looking for 1546 Wexford contact info?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull that for you.
And 15.
Well, I'd rather not read it out in public, but
No,
just
I
send
wouldn't
to-
read it out in
Yeah,
public. I'll
okay,
send
okay.
it to you.
Okay. No, but yeah. If you have that and could forward it, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, well, Dennis, good investigative work. I think that's great idea to talk to them first. It always helps. Talk to the owners, and we'll go from there. Thank
Okay.
you.
Dennis,
Okay,
I have the names, and I'll send them. I can take a snapshot and send them to you, both properties right here.
Is it contact info?
I can send that. I can send whatever they have on the public record.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Right.
coming your way.
Thank you.
okay. Let's move now to approval. And this is something, this next agenda item, I wanted to have the board do a motion and get approval for. So, now I'm going to try this once more and see if I can figure out how to share, but I'm not. Let's see if I can share this. Any sharing going on there, guys?
Yes, you.
Yeah, we can see
there you
your
go, right
cursor.
there. The help sign is, yeah.
So you see that? Okay, so that's what we're going.
You gotta zoom out or something.
There you go.
Yeah, is that better? Okay, so that's what we're going for approval for. And the old sign that it's replacing. The only thing I need to get back to Bob Shaw is where we want the little grommets, the eye hooks, screw eyes, he calls them. It goes here and here, and then we have the hardware. The only outstanding thing is for me to confirm with the sign shop, Public Works, that they have the hardware that goes along with the post. I know they have the posts. So as long as they have the hanging hardware, we're good to go. And Bob Shaw will put in. So I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of this. It's 519 for this sign to get this made by Bob Shaw Signs. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's done.
And remind me, Mike, you had tried to reach out to the Hope family in the area, but without success. Is that right? Just
George,
to
maybe-
say that we're restoring the sign, and if it means something to them, it'd be a nice gesture. But
I hadn't. Maybe George had. I thought, George, maybe you had
What?
looked for the family members to let them know that this is being restored.
No, I have not done anything along those
Okay,
lines.
all right. I thought that was a discussion at one point. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to the next.
Mike,
Yeah.
how are we installing it then?
Well,
Is the town?
have-
Are you going to ask the township?
yes. And we'll have to discuss about the location, because this kind of sign, it's not like this big, broad, flat thing that you can it would have to be viewable from both sides on the road, I would think, like our other signs.
Yeah.
So we'd have to reorient it, push it out closer to the road and have it there, like the Buster Doan sign over on Hudson.
Yeah, so I guess this is two-sided, right? The sign,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay. Next item is the deer hunting on Longshore. And I'll have either Sean or Dennis speak to that. Your choice.
Sean, do you want to kick it off, or you want me to?
Why don't you kick it off, Dennis, and I'll fill in. You there, Dennis?
So you
Yeah,
want
go
me
ahead.
to-
Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead
okay.
and kick it
Sorry,
off.
sorry.
And
Yeah,
Take it away,
as
Dennis.
you know, Longshore, there's a sizable patch of woods on Longshore property that where Jeff Herco owns about an acre or so. I forget right now, but he owns maybe a fifth, maybe less than an eighth of that woods. But it completely surrounds three sides of his house. We've had hunters. We've given permission to hunters there. There's been some issues between the hunters. We've done a good job, and Sean has worked hard. We have a roster of approved hunters. We know where their tree stands are. We've tagged their stands, identified them, numbered them. We have everyone's phone number and CID game commission number. In trying to manage in these close quarters, but it hasn't gone well this archery season at that property. And so Mike and Sean and I walked that here a couple weeks ago, and there was just some things going on there that we thought were not quite right, and not respectful of our property. I'm afraid some hunters with permission are kind of viewing the property as theirs and treating it like if this was their woods, this is what they would do. Which if it were their woods, they'd be welcome to do it, but it's not. So when you're on someone else's property, the obligation is to leave it the same way you found it, leave nothing behind, and leave and alter nothing. You live within the scope of what's there. Not everyone had done that, but most of the hunters are very responsible. But it only takes one bad apple to spoil a barrel, as we all know. And so after that tour, which we did with Mr. Herco, we concluded that we needed to shut down deer hunting in that location for the rest of the year. We need to kind of get a new grip on that and sort out some grain from chaff. I think it's unfortunate. We'd like to harvest more deer for the sake of the farm, of the farmer, but we just weren't comfortable. And if our deer hunters are not responsible and not following our policies, and we have a specific articulated policies that are given to every hunter that we give permission to, if they're not willing to follow those, sorry, game over. And it's not 3 strikes, you're out. It's pretty much 1 strike, you're out. So that's where we stand right now. Unfortunately, some good apples got tossed out with some bad. That's not ideal, but in our collective judgment, it seemed like the right thing to do.
And the plan would be to reward those good apples, Dennis, by when we begin to reconstitute hunting on that property, bringing them back maybe 3 at a time and getting the good hunters back, in an order. There are certainly people that are going to miss it. I also think it's a shame. I think, obviously these guys like to hunt, number one, and number two, the farmers like them there as a line of defense other than, the front of our cars, doing the job. But to your point, walking the property, I think there were several different things that we were trying to solve for, whether it was the border of the property, things that were going on our side, and then the way that it was, the way that hunting was being done in general. And the only way to do it and do it the right way was just to stop. So On October 29th, a half hour after we got back from our walk, all hunters rostered were sent the exact same message that hunting would be ceasing at that property, to please come and collect your cameras, your stands, so on, and let me know when it was done. All hunters got back to me within 2 to 3 days. One good thing that came of it, we did find a hunter that's not even a rostered hunter there that showed up. So we were able to then get that person the message as well. So within 2-3 days, hunting ceased there. There is no one there at all. And the plan is to, again, invite back, hunters in a smaller group to what we feel is a good number there, and allow the people that were doing the right thing to come back and hunt in a smaller number.
Sean, have you been at the site to confirm that everyone has removed their tree stands and cameras and et cetera?
I haven't, for one reason. It felt a little bit like, Big Brother micromanaging it. We reached out to each. We asked them to remove everything and to contact us once it was. Each hunter contacted us that their stand was removed.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yep. So
Okay.
I felt very comfortable that there was no hunting there at all. And we will eventually go back in and walk around it. I'm sure we'll do it a couple of times before we invite hunters back. But I felt like everyone got the message loud and clear, and it was done. There was no one that we didn't hear back from. Let's put it that way.
They all reported that they removed it, so that's fine. Thank you.
That's right. Some with more color than others, but it was done.
Any comments or questions for either Sean or Dennis on that? I'd just like to add, this is kind of related because originally we were out there to look at the property line and also that Mr. Herco, the property owner there, had some equipment that was on our property. And part of the letter that we sent asked him to remove that equipment and let us know within a couple of weeks. So I'm going to add that, and George, you can put me down as an action to follow up with Mr. Herco about moving the equipment off of our property. Thanks, that brought that to mind. Okay, so next item is our operating principles, and I've highlighted, let's see.
And just as you bring that up, Mike,
Right.
just a time check, or do we need to be off at 7:15 or 7?
Yeah, usually 7,
7:15.
10, 10, 7. Oh, is that John? 7:15?
Yeah, 7:15, 7:20.
Okay. All right.
So I've highlighted, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yep.
I can.
Do you also see a green border around there? I'm seeing that. I don't know what that is.
No, I don't see a green border.
Okay, that's just on my screen then.
That
So
just means you're sharing it, Mike.
what's that?
That just means that's what you're sharing at the moment.
Oh, okay, good. So we changed a couple sections, modified a couple sections. So one was expenditure of corporate funds, and the next section was communications with other board members. So I'll just let you read through those without me having to read them and see and take a moment and see if we have anything more to discuss about those or change.
Mike, on the out-of-pocket farmland expenses, I don't know if it's a question for you or Dan or the board at large. Do we want to say with receipt or make some reference to receipt? I know it has to be approved by the treasurer, and I'm presuming the treasurer is going to require a receipt, but should it be stated here? It's just an administrative kind of tick.
Dan?
Write it in there if you want.
Yeah.
We need copies of receipts, so I mean, it doesn't make a difference if you write it in or not. But
yeah, I think because of our kind of public nonprofit status, it makes sense to spell it out there. Just for
I mean, this isn't a binding document. This is just like
Right.
No, I
It's
understand.
no understanding between us in our operating procedures. So,
Yeah.
so whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
In
gotcha.
in all cases, copies of receipts, something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so motor communications, see if I've captured what we talked about correctly. Or to everybody's agreement,
I'm good with them.
okay?
I'm fine.
Okay,
Same.
all right, good. You know, I go back and forth how we talk about the Microsoft Office SharePoint site, and I know, Dan, you use OneDrive. It's all the same. What would
Yeah.
you prefer to call it?
Whatever you want.
Okay. Okay. It's all the same. We understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I don't think we need to have a motion on this, but it looks good to everyone. So we'll keep it the way it is here. And I'll stop sharing. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, someone had a point. No. Other business. What else do we need to talk about? We have time.
It just occurred to me, I have no idea, but maybe I know someone else must. Do we know when the end of these directors' terms are? Are there any potential openings or anything? I know the terms are staggered. Is it five? I believe it's 5-year terms. Is that something Katie tracks, John, I presume? She would be on top of that, right?
Yes, she would be on top of it, and I may be able to find out for you.
Okay.
I'm gonna go into
I mean, if
OneDrive.
there's no issue. I just
You're gonna
don't
go
want
into OneDrive, or are you are sure it's not SharePoint?
I don't want something to slip by and, we find out we've been having meetings with 4 members instead of 5 or something.
I think she's historically, the township manager has historically reached out when your time is up
Okay,
to seek if you want to renew or not.
okay.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
get a letter, whether you remember or not. You
They
get
issue a letter.
Because
Okay,
I think the township supervisors then formally agree upon reappointing as well. So the township managers always manage that.
okay. Fine.
Dennis, I'm yours until December 16th of 2024.
2024?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man.
Yours will be renewed for 10 years.
Treat Sean nice. We don't want a divorce.
We need a NOLA contract.
Somebody take him to dinner.
Not,
If you want to form a NOLA contract, I'm all ears, Mike.
I was gonna say, not the money, just the term.
Okay.
Okay.
John, did you find out anything or?
I'm finding it now. Let's see.
It's all right. As long as Katie or someone's on top of it, it's fine.
We don't have anything. It doesn't look like there's anything. Oh, let's see.
Michael,
Dennis, we reappointed you in March of this year. That was the last one I'm seeing. So I don't think anybody else is coming due.
Okay.
Keep going.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. Any other business while John keeps looking? Nope. All right. Well, ask John on the line here if there's any public comment.
There's no public comment tonight.
Thank you. All right, and we'll turn it over to George for action items.
Okay, so Mike, you lead the crew in number of action items.
No.
So I'm just going to go through all of yours in one kind of fell swoop here.
Right.
You're going to follow up with Jim Majewski around any issues for name changes for the parcels and find out or get a hold of the digital copy or his electronic copy of the map.
Yep.
And then if there are no issues from Jim, then Sean and I'll then work on sitting down and talking about the name change.
Okay.
Where appropriate, and then we can see about putting it on the digital copy of the map so that we're all working off the same thing.
Okay.
Mike, you're going to order the new HAP sign now that it's been all approved. Mike, you're gonna follow up with Mr. Herco regarding removal of his equipment from our property based
Yep.
off of your visit. And then the last item I have, Sean, you're gonna finalize the winter project plan and send to the board or share with the board and then share with Matt Corcoran. And then as you go out to the different sites, you'll let us know who's gonna be where, and if anybody wants to join you, they can join you.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone? Okay. Very good. If there's nothing else, thank you, George. I'll take a motion. German.
So
moved.
moved.
I think that's two. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Have a great evening. Have a great Thanksgiving,
Yes, you too.
and we'll see you next month.
We're at our
Happy Thanksgiving to
shareholder
everyone.